everybody, to the Crack Podcast. I'm Soren Bowie. I'll be your host for the evening. Jack, our usual host, our editor-in-chief, is out on disability, so our thoughts are with him, obviously.
I love that you didn't add a joke structure to that, but one person was like, disability.
What's wrong with him?
He had a baby.
The biggest disability in the world.
Right. Let me introduce everybody that you're now hearing. This is, to my right, this is Michael Swaim.
Howdy. Howdy.
A face of Cracked, I'm sure you all know. To his right is Annie Letterman. Annie Letterman is a comic who has no business hanging out with people this small. Potatoes.
True.
And to her right is Cody Johnston, one of our senior editors, senior writers.
Soren Bowie.
Yeah, and of course I'm Soren Bowie.
Soren Bowie, everyone.
Thank you. So tonight we're going to talk about issues that people care a little too much about. Things that would seem ordinarily trivial until you actually start talking to people about it, and then you realize how much you genuinely care about it. Michael, I just want to ask you, is there some issue that you care deeply about? You can tell on the internet or anywhere else you've been that this is a divisive issue as well.
Is it preferable for a human to be too hot or too cold? And you always end up screaming like, you can take off a jacket, you can't take off your skin. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I can get in a f***ing pool, asshole. Or at least when I do this in the mirror, that's how I end up. Work myself into a fervor. But yeah, and I don't, there's like, our body works so hard to keep us in a perfect temperature homeostasis, so you'd think it would be something that everyone kind of had the same sense of, but I think temperature is something that we can argue endlessly about, that by definition, it doesn't matter. Like, what you think does not matter to anyone outside your skin.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of that in LA, especially because everybody's a transplant here, and everybody thinks it's their superpower that they can withstand cold weather. So as soon as they move here, they're like, oh, no, it's not f***ing cold out. I'm from Chicago, man. That's where it gets cold. And it's like, no, it's legitimately cold. I can see you shivering. You
Wait 2 years and you'll be wearing a jacket at this time.
Yeah. I do like that one a lot. I think it's really, really common, but that's like an in-person one. I never see that argument on the internet, but in person, everybody's like...
That's true. All of mine are in person.
Very local.
That's fine.
And very similar. Like whether I'm tired is something people tend to have a lot of opinions about. Like, I'm tired. I
Like
only
you shouldn't
slept
be
6
tired.
hours last night. I slept 4 hours. I feel fine. Okay. Both are true. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, that's true. Some people think you need like a certain amount of sleep.
Yeah, but I will give that to the internet for all the trolls out there. No one has ever written me. They've said, like, I'll find you and murder you, but they've never said, like, you're not tired.
Really? I get it all the time. They go, you look tired. I'm like, oh, excuse me.
The way the toilet paper hangs, I think is a big thing.
Yeah.
At least for me, because of course you put it in the front.
No,
because
no,
you're not
of
an
course.
idiot. What the
Yeah, what are you, an animal? You wanna,
Right, you need to see what you're doing. You grab it and you pull it down.
No, to paw it down?
Yeah, like an animal.
No. Like a human would just pull it. Because you're just
Now, not to
behind.
pull back the curtain too much on this, but I have to ask, like, as a friend and comedian, you genuinely care? Because this was on the list, and I was like, this is one that's fun to pretend you care about.
I care if it's my home.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
You'll switch it if
Yeah, I'll
you're
switch
at home
it
and you
because
see
no, it
different.
goes that
Who
way.
gives
What do you want to
a...
Oh, do you fold it for yourself
The
too?
patent for
How
a
dare
toilet
you?
roll shows it. It says, here's how you do it. This is the patent for toilet
Yeah,
paper.
and you know what?
It goes-
Make a difference and be someone that shines.
don't make patents,
Flip it
do
the around.
Cody, before you get
Be unique.
run over by this bus, I will say that I'm on your team here.
Thank God.
That even at restaurants, I will change it if it's backwards.
You change it?
I will
That's
change
extreme,
it,
man.
assuming that it's not locked down, which
Right.
now several of them
You know
are.
what's-
People are
Do
Do you know what's about that?
You're
That
the
people-
reason.
No, that people are wiping with your fingerprints all over their toilet paper.
Yeah. No, I also like to unroll it all and touch it all and then roll it back up.
Imagine that person is killed
That's
right
it.
after in an ass-related crime. Your prints are going to be all over it.
I was debating in my own mind whether or not I wanted to circumcise my son. And if you go online, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. It's Lord of the Flies, where people are smoking one another out of places and dropping rocks on them. They're so mad on both sides.
I didn't know that's how it was done. A rock drop. Seems complicated.
They're-
Tribunal of Kids decides for your son.
I don't know. And on both sides, both people think that you're essentially killing the child, regardless of what you do. So they're on one side, they're the people who are saying, no, this is genital mutilation. You're killing all the sensation later on when they want to have sex. You're not giving them the choice.
All these women aren't going to get bacterial vaginosis.
Yeah.
It's like so unfair.
Yeah.
All these women in the future are going to have healthy vaginas. It's going to be so insane.
Other side. There you go.
Yeah, and then the other side are people saying, oh no, they run the risk of infection if you leave the skin there, and there are all these long-term problems that they can have. Sometimes the skin doesn't grow, and then the penis tries to, and then it just ends up like, yeah.
Oh my
like,
God, is there anything sadder than the penis that tried to grow? Oh, I feel like I've had a few of those.
And
I get emails about that all the time.
Well, we were talking backstage about there's people so dedicated to the idea that as babies they were deprived of the opportunity to choose for themselves.
My favorite humans on earth.
Yes, that you want to take
The people that think
Go.
circumcision was like their Holocaust and they're just trying to take back the night and they're hanging cinder blocks from their dick skin are my favorite people. If there was only one, if everyone was going to get killed and murdered and there was one group of people that I could save, it would be the people that are mad that they were circumcised.
Yeah, so
I love them.
they hang increasing weight, small lead weights onto the foreskin that's there, stretching it out until they have recovered their foreskin, quote unquote.
It's the appropriate response.
It's called Famunduchi's envy.
And I believe that's what you finally settled on for your son, right? Was that path?
yeah.
But you did it, right?
So where did you land? Soren's baby's penis update. Let's hear it here first.
Okay, so not to derail this too much, he is circumcised. We went with it.
See, I actually was interested in a straw poll of how these people feel about it. Yeah.
I really want to see your faces now. I want to see the face of an uncut right now. Show yourself, uncut.
I have had very impassioned arguments with people about whether our pets truly love us or are capable of having love, or you're like, well, what is love then? I mean, of course it likes me, it thinks of me as the leader. Right, but does it love me like I love it? And just the argument of like what level of sentience your pets have, if it's similar to human, and of course, do they love me?
Well, I'm
It's
just
the
more
natural
interested on
part.
whether pets can love or can hate their owners. That sounds
Yeah.
more fun.
Rather
Just
than
be
like,
hated by your own animal.
of course they can attack you if the situation calls for it, but can they harbor like a deep hatred
Resentment?
for you?
Right? Because even like animals that are abused, they still are like, they stick with it. Their owner.
Right.
Like, not to like be a huge downer, but
Well, but
Like,
everything, and there's so
they're
many.
still like, they'll be like, yeah, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? Oh no, I fear you, but also you're mine, so I guess I love you.
Right. And even on the site, we talk about all the time that there's always constantly new factoids about like what they think and why they're doing that. Like, oh, they're just licking you for salt. Oh no, it shows submission. It actually means they're scared because you're the alpha.
Right.
No, my dog loves me. Like, everyone interprets it the way that I think suits their worldview, and I don't think there is a clear answer.
But then you see those like guys that come home from war or whatever, and their dogs are weeping. The dogs like run up and attack them and like weep and cry.
Tears from the dog's
Oh,
eyes.
they're like,
Well, I get this-
Oh,
okay, guys.
right. One dog,
Women.
it was a tiny little dog, and the owner came home after I think like 2 years of being gone, and it got so excited it literally died.
I want my dog to love me that much.
I think-
It excited itself to death.
I think the rules should be if
great.
if you die and your animal's willing to eat you within a week, that probably doesn't love you very much.
Sure, loved you so much.
I would eat plenty of my loved
If
one's
if
body.
my-
Are you kidding me?
pet died, and I love my pet, and there was no food available
Exactly.
to me, then I would eat my pet.
Because you don't realize
It
you're
was
the
dead.
pet. You
Because
are
I have
the
no
food
other
source.
And to that animal,
You're the food
I'm
source.
The only food.
What else are you
I'm
gonna
sorry.
do? Yeah.
You don't ever look at your dog and go like, look at that little chicken thigh. Like it just looks like a little.
The
piece of
drumsticks
chicken.
look good. I'll
Yeah.
give you that.
Do you want to talk about the Oxford comma at all?
Yeah. An Oxford comma is anytime you have three or more objects in a sentence, you put the commas in, and then before the and for the last one, sometimes there's a comma in there. That's the
That's
Oxford
like
comma.
the only rule I know. So I hope that's right. Because
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on who you ask.
Right. So, like a quick example, any sense if you were going to say Soren, Cody, and Annie bowed to Michael's superior stage presence, there would be a comma after Soren and definitely after Cody. No, that's the one that's questionable.
Yeah.
So if I were writing it, there would be a comma after it.
Comma and...
Comma, person's name, comma, and other person. Because I think a comma represents when you would pause when you're saying the sentence. But thank you. And I do care about it very much. But there are people who believe just the opposite because they don't think the written language is about what you're going to say. It's about the archaic rules of the way the symbols go.
I don't think AP Style Guide uses Oxford commas, and that's what I go by.
See, so he goes by like the authority figure.
The good book is what I go by.
Right.
Yeah, but nobody reads books anymore, so let's just do it to talking.
Exactly. And language is a living organism. However people use the word, that's how they use the word.
That's why, like, you say...
Peruse now means to skim over. Get used to it.
Literally
It's done.
now means virtually.
Yeah, literally means virtually was hard for me to accept, but I guess it's
It
happened.
is. It's like the second definition now.
Literally, definition,
Virtually.
figuratively.
Well, the world died the minute that selfie became an actual word. We're all it's all over for us now. Ooh, can we do selfies?
I think most of us, even if we say we're anti-selfie, have taken or posted
You gotta take a selfie
selfies.
every once in a
Yeah.
while. I'm so anti them, and there's the
I really
million.
don't like taking them.
It's
or posting
humiliating.
them. I really dislike it.
It's a really embarrassing thing
Why?
that people don't realize is so embarrassing because it's true vanity.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
Pure true vanity.
And I feel like that might be a generational thing that's changing somewhat. Or I think one of the effects of the internet is we're kind of on the cusp of a time when that it's not considered vanity to share everything with anyone. It's just considered that's how the internet works.
It's just so, it's weird though, because even when, being anti-selfie, even when I'm like just fast scrolling through Instagram, I will automatically just like a selfie and be like, I like the selfie. Because there is something so easy to like, oh, it's a person's face.
But you made that person feel so good about themselves.
Oh, and they needed it so bad.
I want to get into also why we do this,
Yeah,
or at
yeah,
least
you
like some
better.
theories on why we do this, because even within this conversation, we've all had our arguments for it. And there's a theory from a guy named Parkinson's, not that Parkinson's.
Those are the people that laughed at disability, by the way.
Yeah, there's a particular section of the audience
That's the uncut section.
that loves sobering, life-altering diseases and injuries.
So he's got a theory called Parkinson's law of triviality, and what it basically says is that the amount of noise generated around an issue is inversely proportional to the complexity of the issue. It's also called the law of diminishing interest. But what it means is that the harder and more complex an issue is to understand, the less of a stance people want to take on it, for a lot of reasons. First of all, you assume that other people know more than you do already and that they're going to cover it. And then also, in order to feel like you belong to society and that you're participating in society, you want to have opinions on things. It's just natural. It's part of being like a pack animal, I think. And so you're going to pick the things that you know more about. And in the case of something that's very superficial and very easy or subjective, it tricks your mind into thinking that you're an expert on it already. That's why when I talk about toilet paper, I think, how the could anyone do it the other way? That's the dumbest
Doesn't
thing
make any
I've ever
sense.
heard in my life.
Well,
It's so clear. It's right there.
It's so exciting to just have a stance on something, even if it's the stupidest thing in the world.
Especially when it's the stupidest thing.
Yeah.
That's when people really take a stance on things.
Exactly, and I think that mathematical equation or that inverse relationship reaches like a singularity when you get to something that is an opinion, or by its nature, there can't actually be an answer. The absolute absence of anything substantive makes you believe that your opinion cannot be questioned.
Right.
Like by the very fact that you know that it's a pointless exercise, you're like, I can care about this as much as I want to.
So
Oh yeah, because it's just opinion. Like nobody, there's no.
it's also
yeah.
called bike shedding. And the way that it got its name is actually a really funny story, because Parkinson, when he was creating this theory, he'd gone to a lot of different like city council meetings and things like that. And then
You are the weirdest person.
Bureaucratic inefficiency, am I right?
and
If you don't show us your uncircumcised on the stage in the Q&A, you're the worst person in the world.
he'd seen a lot of inefficiency, and like the hypothetical he gave based off of all the experience that he had was that there's this council meeting that's deciding whether or not to put in this new nuclear reactor, and that's the first issue on their docket. when they do it, they spend like 2 minutes deciding whether or not to do it because they assume somebody else has gotten the pricing and everything right. The next issue on it is whether or not to give the employees of that nuclear reactor a bike shed, and they spend like 2 hours on that issue because everybody knows what a bike shed is, and so like they're like, oh, we should make a corrugated steel. That's what the roof should be. People are like, no, man, that's not the way to go. You got to go with asbestos. And everybody had an opinion about it, and so it's really, as soon as you feel like you have a good grasp of the concept, that's when you'll dive in and be like, no, it's my opinion or nothing.
And it comes up a lot in filmmaking, the idea that everyone wants to put their fingerprint on it as it passes through the process, but most people, good people, God-fearing people, don't want to f*** the whole thing up. But if it's a simple process and they're like, oh, I can just say I think the bikes should be blue, that's not going to ruin the project, and I earned my
And you can feel
paycheck.
smart and like you're worth anything.
And I think it's that exact principle is like all of politics. It's the direction that like gave us the politics we have, which is that as soon as an issue becomes too complex, 1% of 1% of voters know anything about it.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to just do, these are my 3 things. It's like a Denny's menu with the pictures. Like, I got a wall, I got this thing, I got this thing. Just point at what you want. We'll
But
do
it's
it.
always moons over my hammy, right?
That's
It's
why
like, what a name.
Exclusively. Actually, I care a lot about that. Let's
you
talk
can
about
see.
I mean, how dare you not name everything else amazing names and have moons over my hammy?
You can see the media play to that. I mean, and they really, I feel like they get it the most now. In this current election, you can see that they're not, the titles of articles are things about like Trump's or
Those beautiful hands.
Yeah.
And now that you've said that,
Hillary
we can title
being a
this
bitch.
podcast episode Trump's. That's great for metrics.
Trump's cut baby.
Yeah. Or when Jeb Bush said he would go back in time and kill baby Hitler. These are the news stories now because
Right.
everybody, they know, they've clued into the fact that people will only care and argue about these things because the other ones are very, very complex and hard to understand.
And people don't want to admit that they're dumb.
Right.
Well, I remember I was at a coffee shop and some guy was like, I can't vote for Hillary. She reminds me of my aunt. And I was like, but what? What the are you talking about?
Who does Trump remind you of?
As aunt, weirdly enough.
What you were saying, Michael, you can see that in movies and stuff, there is in programming, computer programming, there's a term called a duck. I don't know, are there any computer programmers here?
That's shocking. Oh my God.
Misjudged our demographic. In programming, so a duck it's from this lore story. No one actually knows if it's true or not, but the game Battle Chess that you maybe played when you were a kid, where you can actually watch the chess pieces murder one another. When they were making that game, the programmer for it added a duck to the queen's piece, and every time no matter what the queen would do, this duck would like flap and squawk and do all this weird shit, whether she was murdered or she was murdering somebody, and he added it specifically so that when this went to their Q&A or their departments, their managers to determine what they should save, what they should cut, so that when it got to them, they would say, yeah, we like everything, just get rid of the duck. So it was gave them something to focus on that they could pick out from everything else and be like, there's something that's wrong, and they could feel like they were legit.
they're gonna
And
cut something.
that's when they came up with Duck Hunt. That was kind of better than what you gave me.
And Cody, are you going to tell the possibly apocryphal South Park follow-up, or do you not want to go out on a limb?
So I think this is true. In the South Park movie,
Asterisk.
there's after every single sentence I say it. There's that scene with the devil and Saddam Hussein, and there's that dildo flopping around. It's a real that they used in the movie, and they did it because they knew, we'll give it to standards and practices, and they'll say, well, you can't have a real in here, use a dildo, and they'll ignore all the other that they did, but they didn't notice it. So there's just a in the movie now.
So their duck was a
Their duck was a but it didn't work.
duck.
Their didn't work.
That's great. Well, that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Go home, have your own arguments.
We're going to keep talking, but you guys can file out.
Hi, I'm Serena Fiallo and I play Carly.
Hi, I'm Tyler Powell and I play Andrew.
Thanks for watching.
Please like this video and subscribe to this channel.
Yeah.
You may think that we are actually still in an underground super secret bunker, but
Guess what? it's just a soundstage with crew members.